sometimes following God feels pointless. I made a video talking about this like a few weeks ago, talking about how I was just drained. I was just tired. I felt like I wasn't seeing any progress in anything, really. Like, I'm just showing up every day and nothing was manifesting for me. And I realized it was because I was focusing on the physical rather than focusing on the eternal. And so the Lord really pushed me into reading Ecclesiastes. And I've been reading Ecclesiastes for a few weeks. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of took like a little break because I started reading Romans. And now I've just been kind of going back to it. And yesterday I went through 5, 6, and 7. And I think that this is slowly becoming one of my favorite books in the Bible because it's so real and it's so raw. You have Solomon, who is like at the end of his life. This man is full of wisdom and knowledge. We have stories in the Bible where he was praying to God for wisdom and knowledge. The Lord presented it to him. You have Proverbs, right, where he's literally giving you free game. And then you have this book of Ecclesiastes where it's like this old man at the end of his life has had it all, has had all the riches, has had all the wealth, has had, all the wisdom and the knowledge that only can come from God. And it's like he's looking you straight in the eye saying, everything is meaningless. Everything that I have is vanity. Every materialistic thing that you strive so hard for, that you labor so hard for, is worthless. The only thing that matters is heaven. And this is something that I've really been trying to get myself back into. And I think that I was trying to view my relationship with God way too technical. And so it really started stressing me out, where all Jesus wants is for you to be more in love with him. All Jesus wants is for you to have an intimacy with him, is to read his word, because the more that you read his word, you will start to love what he loves and hate what he hates. The more that you seek him, you will start to have the desires of his heart, that your desires will become his desires, that you'll love what he loves and, again, hate what he hates. And I realized that I was just like drifting away from God, feeling like everything is pointless, none of this matters. Where now I have Solomon who's saying, no, it's actually the opposite. The things that you're desiring, the things that you want, those are all meaningless. Those are all pointless. When you die, you can't take it with you. He tells us in Ecclesiastes 7:2, it is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting, because that is the end of every man. And so that's him telling us that a funeral will remind you that you're going to be in that casket one day too. A funeral will remind you that life is short. You go to a party, everyone is putting on a fun face. Like, everyone is just pretending they're happy, they're whatever the case may be. You don't really actually know what's going on with people. A funeral really shakes you and says, one day this is going to be you in that casket. That day could be 60 years from now. That day could be tomorrow. That day could be later on today when you leave here. And that's so incredibly humbling to me, because it reminds me that I, yes, desire riches. I desire financial freedom. I desire being able to travel, being able to provide for my family. And Solomon even goes over that too, where he says in 5:19-20, furthermore, as every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also empowered him to eat from them and to receive to his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. For he will even not consider the years of his life, because God is keeping him occupied with the gladness of his heart. And so he tells us it's like, it's not bad to want these things, to desire these things, right? But it is wrong to put them above God. And it's also wrong that when you don't have these things, right? So that's the season I was in, where I'm like hoping and praying for these things, that you have to also enjoy where you are, that you have to have a grateful heart towards God. That's the thing that's the most important, is have gratitude towards God despite whatever season that you're in. And Solomon reminds us of that. And so as I read this, I really get convicted, because I'm just like, the things that I was focusing on really don't matter. What he tells us is that what matters truly is not what you make here on earth. Yes, steward your money well, steward your finances well. Yes, enjoy life. But none of that goes into the grave with you, and none of that can be taken with you. And even if you leave that to your family, you leave that inheritance to your family, to your children, to your children's children, that is still not the ultimate goal. I can't imagine just leaving my kids riches and not leaving to them the good news, leaving to them an eternal reward, leaving to them an eternal inheritance, I guess you can say. I think I had wrote something down here. What did I say? Maybe I didn't, but like, yeah, I want to leave my kids a heavenly inheritance. I want them to know Jesus. And so that's the most important thing that you can do, is living for Jesus on earth, being so in love with him, desiring what he desires, that what you're leaving behind generation to generation is the good news, is the gospel of Jesus Christ, is pouring into your kids Christ's love, is living out the will of God. Because all that matters when you pass away is that you're going to go to heaven or you're going to be damned to hell. I always say the good news is so good because the bad news is so bad. We have to really talk more about how hell is a real place. Like, it's not through your works that gets you there, that the Lord will receive you. It is by your faith. It is by your belief, but also the way that you live your life, the heart that you have, the attitude that you have towards God. And so I have just been really loving Ecclesiastes. I've really been loving like being reminded that every season is temporary. Everything that you go through is temporary, that you can strive and strive and strive and strive and strive for things on earth. But no matter what you're striving for, it's never going to give you true fulfillment. It's never going to satisfy you. Like, the Lord is the lover of your soul. Like, he is the only thing that can satisfy you. And I think that sometimes I've had seasons where I'm just like, I probably sound crazy. Like, I know that people are not going to understand the love that I have for Jesus, or how radical I am about Jesus, or want to be or strive to be about Jesus. But at the end of the day, it's like, he is all that matters. If I follow him and his desires become the desires of my heart, if I follow him and his character becomes my character, and I become more like Jesus, there's no negatives that come out of that. If I'm all loving, if I'm forgiving, like, we think about the spiritual gifts that people have, right? And it's like, everyone wants to pray for spiritual gifts. Everyone wants to, speak in tongues and blah, blah, and all these things. But it's like, can you apologize in English? Can you be forgiving in English? Are you, are you patient? Are you kind? Are you loving? So it's not about the gifts or the things that the Lord can give you. It's about who he makes you, what he pours into you. Like, the word baptize actually comes from a Greek word, and it means plunge. And what they used to do in the older times back in the day is they used to dye cloth in like purple dye, like I think they would like fruit or something like that, and they would plunge it and they would take it out, and it would absorb, right, the physicalities, that's not the word, I just be trying to use big words. It basically absorb the color, right? And so that's where the word baptize comes from, is you're plunged into the water and you come out with Jesus all over you. You come out with the characteristic traits of Jesus. And that is my goal, is to just have Jesus all over me, and for my eyes to be fixated on heaven, not the worldly desires, but not thinking that, oh, God doesn't want me to have these things, because he does. He just never wants me to place it above him. And I never want to get to a place where I receive these things and like I'm not giving God the glory, and I'm just like, oh, the Lord gave me this, and I'm so like enthralled with all of my riches and traveling and blah, blah, and I lose sight of Jesus, which is why I think it's so essential to build that foundation on him and to consider him all the days of your life, but to just fall in love with him, to give him glory, so that when he does give you those things, that you continue to give him gratitude, and that you don't think that you did anything on your own, and then you also don't ever place those things above him. I think that's why the Bible reminds us that some of the people in the most dangerous position are the people who don't know Jesus, but they have riches and they have wealth, because that is their God, essentially. Which is really dangerous. But yeah, if you've never read Ecclesiastes, I definitely highly recommend, because it's really helping me get out of this like hole that I've been in. And it's just such a great reminder that our main goal is heaven, not earth. Nothing that on earth could ever satisfy us the way that Jesus can. Amen.